And that's what's missed on this whole thing. Everybody's talking about a damn dragon. If you're going to call my character into question over a dragon, read the damn complaint.
Welcome, friends. My name is Chad Sands, and I am VP of Marketing at Cloudlex and editor of the Trial Lawyers Journal. And I'm excited to welcome today's guest, Jacob Perrone, a Michigan attorney known for his bold courtroom presence and aggressive representation. A graduate of the Jerry Spence's Trial Lawyers College at Thunderhead Ranch, Jacob uses GSM techniques to deeply understand each case, client, and jury in every courtroom he steps into. And just this past week, the courtroom he stepped into made headlines after a federal judge ordered him to remove a purple dragon watermark from a legal filing, catching the attention of the legal community and sparking national debate about branding, professionalism, and courtroom norms. Jacob, thank you for joining us and contributing to the Trial Lawyers Journal.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So now I know everyone's talking about Dragon Lawyers and your infamous logo, but I kind of wanted to start before you discovered or really thought about your Drogon approach.
I came up with the initial concept back in 2017-ish after practicing for 9 or so years. It was the Game of Thrones type of era, so people like dragons and aggressive representation was the thing that everybody was advertising. And I thought it may be something that could possibly stand out at that stage. I never really rolled it out. I was doing a lot of very interesting cases. They kind of diverted my attention from trying to go the business side. I was kind of tied up in the law end.
Yeah, but you had thought about this like even before COVID. So were you just trying to think of like, were you working with a marketing company?
No, I came up with it myself. But COVID kind of threw a wrench in everybody's agendas. Kind of had to transition and think on your feet a little bit. So had to make some decisions that kind of took away from that. But I got to the stage recently where I was doing fairly well, and I said, well, I'd try to do it. See if you can make a trade name work in the legal profession and see how it's received.
So I heard you found the Dragon logo online, or were you searching like
Dragon Lawyer? No, I just typed in Dragon Lawyer. I bought the thing off of one of the clip art sites. Now, I'm colorblind, so when I put a watermark on a piece of paper, it doesn't have the same impact to me as it may someone else. So I can understand, somebody seeing in full color, it might be a little bit more, pop out a little bit more than I was not trying to like push the envelope. I wasn't trying to, toe the line. I wasn't trying to do anything to garner any attention. I mean, obviously just trying to put a logo trademark on the product that I was putting out there, which is civil rights. This is a civil rights case. The dragon is a pretty good warrior for civil rights, advocate for civil rights. But especially nowadays, there's a lot of issues that are surrounding civil rights that are coming to the forefront.
So you had the idea, for a few years, and then so I guess was it earlier this year, or was it even just a month ago that you kind of decided, hey, I'm gonna actually let's try and do this?
I was always hesitant to do it because it is definitely out of the norm, and I didn't know how it would be received. It just came time. I said, I'll roll it out and see what happens, and got attention. A lot of people were very supportive of the concept. Maybe my watermark was a little misplaced initially, but a little big. Logos are still something that are necessary, and I think the commercialization of law is inevitable given the progression of society at this stage. One of my main intentions with the Dragon Lawyer brand concept was that I was going to brand myself as a mental health lawyer.
Okay.
Because you don't really have mental health lawyers. Somebody who advocates for people in a criminal context who have underlying mental health issues. And divorce, there's always some type of a context associated with mental health usually. In most issues that you have, there's some type of mental health aspect. So it's really just marketing the same fields from a different angle. But also, eventually, I would like to be able to provide representation to people who are hospitalized and put on orders and commitment orders, because I think that's an underserved market. There aren't any attorneys that are paid attorneys that represent people in the defense side of commitment proceedings anywhere in the United States. So, eventually, I am hoping to possibly reach that market, open up that market. But I mean, it's probably wishful thinking. There are a lot of people out there that have significant mental health issues that don't have the resources necessary or access to the resources. The resources are out there if you know where to find them, but they're very difficult to find. So just pointing people in the right direction sometimes is all they need.
You know, you touched on it a little bit about this idea of the commercialization of law. And I follow an attorney named Lance Brubaker down in Florida who posted this on his LinkedIn. He said, Law Dragon is getting a lot of press this week, but at least Law Dragon is actually advocating for their clients. Law Tigers, Top Dog Law, and Law Bear are so much worse. These companies use the same cartoonish logos that imply they're going to give you fierce animalistic like representation. How do you kind of feel about the personal injury space in general? Are you familiar with those other firms and those kind of logos and mascots?
I am. That's kind of where the concept overall came from. I mean, I saw billboards with people talking about being pit bull attorneys. I said, okay, well, that sounds good. Aggressive pit bull attorney and sells on a billboard. So what if I want a dragon attorney? And then there's the mythical aspect of it, and people get wrapped up in that type of stuff. And the prestige of the industry is at the very top. I mean, with law, 98% of law isn't glamorous. It's the exact opposite. It's very dirty, and you have to, go to places that other people can't. I don't think that it's beneath the profession. I think the profession is becoming more progressive overall, inevitably. And I think that realistically, because of AI, the profession is going to have to dramatically change the way that it's operating currently, or it's going to face some significant obstacles in the future, especially with the advent of things like quantum computing.
It's kind of interesting that you said that, you're colorblind. And so when you were talking about a watermark on a piece of paper that's, maybe
I don't see purple.
You don't see purple. That's right. You don't see purple. And I think I had read that you had actually used the watermark before in other filings, but
I took it off of filing today. I was going to file something, I had to take it off of it.
Right. But maybe before this judge, Ray Kent, made his remarks, were you a little bit surprised on kind of how he handled it? Could he have just maybe called you up and had a conversation, or what did you think about the whole reaction to it?
I respect the order.
Right. Okay.
I respect the order, and I'm going to comply with the order.
What have you seen on social? And as you mentioned, I think you had a lot of support from a lot of people that I've seen. And you've also had some of the more snarky comments.
Well, in general, from a demographic perspective, I think it's 0.4% of the population of the United States are lawyers. And the rest of the population is basically blind to the law because we've created a system and in a language that is only understood by us. And from a percentage standpoint, I think that the people that are upset are in the higher 1%er type, the ones that aren't necessarily on the battlefield.
What's the future of Dragon Lawyers PC looking like then?
Well, I mean, at this point, it's just the more theory and somewhat put into concept in litigation, but that's how I litigate. I mean, it's not a pretty business overall. And I worked for 2 years in law school at Access to Justice Clinic for Legal Services. So it's always been something that's kind of been pounded in my brain that we want to make sure that people have access to the system. And there are other aspects. The people, general public, like I said, 0.4% are attorneys, and the rest of the people are generally ignorant to the law overall. Everybody, aside from knowing what Miranda is, even though it's never applicable when they think it's a defense, you didn't make any statement.
Right.
But I think that educating people on the law would help society overall and would progress society to some degree. And I mean, I'm trying to offer services that people otherwise aren't going to be able to get, and that's going to piss a lot of people off. Provide access to the court system to people that otherwise may not have been steered in that direction, but have very valid and cognizable claims.
Going back to I guess that filing and the specific case, I mean, can you tell me a little bit about the case?
It was a jail case, deliberate
A
indifference.
jail case. Okay.
Jail has a contracted health team, and the services that are provided have customarily been subpar, beyond subpar.
There's a little bit of a paper trail of all this stuff.
See, the news has reported a number of issues with the facility in particular on a number of occasions in the recent history. There's been a couple lawsuits that were outstanding. I think one came back favorable to the county, but it was more on medical malpractice grounds than on deliberate indifference. So the other case that's currently outstanding is up for summary disposition, I believe, at some point in time in the near future. But the facts of my case, they seem to be, in my estimation, even more egregious than a lot of the other cases that have been published, just on the complete lack of care, and beyond lack of care, intentionally disregarding these people's needs, especially in certain instances. One instance, they had notice. They were told repeatedly, 5 times a day, family members calling. I got one case. I said, that looks like a case. I mean, that could be a really good case. And then the Jane Doe number 2 came to me. Said the same thing. At that point in time, I didn't, it's a very daunting task to try to sue a county jail, especially one that has a history of defending these types of lawsuits and has a dream team of attorneys to defend.
Yeah.
But I believe that I have, at this point in time, done enough research and that it all supports the causes of action. And that's what's missed on this whole thing. Everybody's talking about a damn dragon.
Right.
Read the substance of it. Look at the legal writing associated with it. Give it to somebody and tell me that there's something wrong with my legal writing.
Right.
If you're going to call my character into question over a dragon, read the damn complaint.
Do you believe the dragon watermark has sparked a broader conversation about the modernization and branding of the legal profession? I mean,
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think there's going to be a lot of pushback on it, and I think it'll probably be forgotten. Fortunately, this is, commerce. At some point in time, the law is going to have to deal with the fact that commerce is something that it is path. I mean, the commercialization of everything. I mean, there's going to be a commercialization of death here soon, because you have
the baby boomers.
40% of the population is going to die in the next 60 years. Baby boomers in the next 15. They make up 20% of the population, and they hold 50% of the wealth in the country of 140 trillion. They hold 70 trillion. And it's all passing in the next 2 generations, which conceptually would mean that death taxes could save a lot of issues for the government from an operational standpoint. But from a legal standpoint, funeral homes, they're all mom and pop owned right now, because death hasn't been commercialized yet. And
so do you think private equity is going to come in and start
private
investing?
Equity's already started. They did it 10 years ago or 15 years ago. They all thought that the baby boomers were going to start falling over, and it didn't pan out. They were 15 years behind. It's going to start now, and there's a lot of people in the mom and pop side of the funeral home business that don't want to participate with it anymore and are selling their businesses. There's a lot of businesses that are saying, wow, there's a lot of money in this. And the reality is that historically, death has scared people. And once people realize how much money they're going to be able to make because of the demographics in the U.S. right now, it's going to be a free-for-all. And it's going to be all private equity owned, because that's what happens with every business. The law is going to face the same future. And there's going to be a lot of people on the outside that are going to try to commercialize the law in a manner that probably would amount to the unauthorized practice of law, but it's going to be an argument that they're going to have to defend against, and it's going to be an obstacle they're going to face regardless of whether or not there's a purple dragon on a pleading or not.